The silent signal. The communications center at Luna Command fell silent at exactly 14:37 Greenwich Mean Time. For the first time in 8 years, the daily check-in from Kepler station had failed to arrive. Communications officer David Reeves stared at his console, waiting for the familiar voice of Dr. Sarah Martinez to crackle through the speakers with her routine status report from humanity's most distant research outpost. Kepler station orbited a small moon in the Kepler 442 system, nearly 12 light-years from Earth. The facility housed 43 researchers, engineers, and support staff who studied the system's unique properties. Their work focused on exotic matter research and deep space observations. Every day at the same time, without fail, Dr. Martinez would transmit their findings and request supply updates. Today, there was only silence. Reeves double-checked his equipment, ran diagnostics on the quantum communication array, and even rebooted the entire system. Everything functioned perfectly on his end. The problem was at the source. He picked up his secure phone and dialed Admiral Rebecca Torres, head of the Terran Defense Network. "Admiral, we have a situation." Kepler station missed their scheduled transmission. Torres had been expecting this call for months, though she hoped it would never come. Intelligence reports had been filtering in from the outer systems about strange energy signatures and missing survey drones. Something was moving in the dark between the stars, and now it had found one of their colonies. "How long overdue?" Torres asked, her voice calm despite the ice forming in her stomach. 3 hours and counting. All attempts to establish contact have failed." "Understood. I'm authorizing immediate deployment of the Horizon. Captain Chen is to investigate and report back within 72 hours. The UH Horizon was officially listed as a deep space research vessel, like dozens of others in the Terran fleet. In reality, it was one of humanity's most advanced reconnaissance ships, equipped with stealth technology and enough firepower to level a small moon. Captain Maya Chen had been briefed on scenarios like this. She knew what she might find. The Horizon's crew consisted of 22 specialists, each chosen for their expertise and discretion. Chief Science Officer Dr. James Park had worked with the Kepler station team before. Security Chief Lieutenant Commander Alex Rodriguez commanded a squad of Marines trained for zero-gravity combat. They all understood the gravity of their mission. Jump travel to the Kepler system took 18 hours. During the journey, Chen reviewed everything they knew about the station and its personnel. Dr. Martinez had been friends with her sister. The head engineer, Tom Bradley, had 3 children back on Earth. These weren't just names on a roster. They were people who deserved answers. The Horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, sensors immediately scanning for any trace of the station. What they found defied explanation. "Captain," Dr. Park called from his station, his voice tight with disbelief. "You need to see this." The main view screen showed where Kepler station should have been. Instead of the familiar cluster of research modules and solar collectors, there was nothing. Not debris, not wreckage, not even the scattered remains that would indicate an explosion. The station had simply vanished. "Full sensor sweep," Chen ordered. "I want every particle of dust analyzed." The investigation took 6 hours. Piece by piece, the crew assembled a picture that made no sense according to known physics. The station hadn't been destroyed in any conventional way. There were no signs of kinetic impact, no radiation signatures from nuclear weapons, no thermal patterns from energy weapons. Instead, they found something far more disturbing. "These readings are impossible," Dr. Park reported, staring at his instruments. "The molecular structure of the surrounding space has been altered. It's like reality itself was edited." "Edited?" Chen asked. "The space where the station existed shows quantum fluctuations consistent with complete matter dissolution. Not destruction, dissolution. Every atom was broken down to its component particles and scattered across subspace." Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez reported from the surface of the nearby moon, where the station's emergency beacon should have been located. "We found something, Captain." You need to get down here." The landing party found more than just the emergency beacon. Hidden in a shielded bunker that had somehow survived whatever destroyed the station, they discovered an automated recording system that had captured the final moments of Kepler Station. The holographic display showed Dr. Martins at her usual console, conducting the daily equipment check. Everything appeared normal until she suddenly stopped, her eyes widening as she looked at something beyond the camera's view. "Contact! Contact! We have unknown vessels approaching." Her voice cracked with panic. "I count. Dear God, there must be hundreds of them." The recording shook as the station's hull vibrated with some external force. Emergency lights began flashing. Through the viewports visible in the background, massive shapes blotted out the stars. The ships were unlike anything in human databases, organic-looking vessels that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. They're insects," Martins whispered into her communicator. "Massive insectoid ships. They're surrounding us. No response to our hail. They're powering up some kind of weapon. I'm activating the emergency protocols. Tell Earth. Tell them we're sorry we couldn't run." The recording ended in a burst of static, but not before showing a brief glimpse of the attackers. The ships were indeed insectoid in design, with multiple hull segments connected by what appeared to be organic joints. Bioluminescent patterns ran along their surfaces like neural pathways. These were not machines built by hands like humanity's ships. They were grown. Chen transmitted the recording to Earth via quantum burst, then began the grim task of searching for survivors. They found none. In the deeper reaches of the system, however, they discovered something else: crystalline fragments that definitely didn't belong. "These crystals contain encoded information," Dr. Park explained after hours of analysis. "It's a form of data storage unlike anything we've developed. The patterns suggest a hive mind communication system. Captain, I think we're looking at pieces of their technology." "Can you decode it?" "Some of it. What I'm seeing suggests this wasn't a random attack. The data indicates extensive surveillance of human expansion. They'd been watching us for years, mapping our colonies, studying our technology." Kepler Station was a test. The implications hit Chen like a physical blow. A test of what? Our response capabilities. They wanted to see how we'd react to losing a remote outpost. "Captain, I don't think they expected us to have ships capable of tracking them this far or this fast." Chen contacted Admiral Torres immediately. The conversation was brief and decisive. "Admiral, we have confirmation of hostile alien contact. Kepler Station was deliberately destroyed by unknown forces using technology beyond our current understanding. Evidence suggests this was a probing attack to test our capabilities." "Understood, Captain. Return to Earth immediately. We're implementing Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was a contingency that most people in the Terran Defense Network hoped would never be activated. It called for the full mobilization of humanity's hidden military assets. For decades, while the public believed humanity's expansion into space was purely peaceful, military planners had been preparing for exactly this scenario. During the journey home, Chen found herself thinking about the crystalline fragments and what they revealed about their attackers. The aliens had studied humanity, watched their expansion, and concluded that humans were weak enough to attack with impunity. They had destroyed Kepler Station not for resources or territory, but as a message. They had made a fundamental error in judgment. Back on Earth, Admiral Torres stood before the Terran Security Council in an emergency session. The recording from Kepler Station played on screens around the room, showing the final moments of humanity's most distant outpost. "For 70 years, we've maintained the fiction that humanity's expansion into space was entirely peaceful," Torres told the assembled leaders. "We've hidden our true capabilities behind the facade of exploration and research. Today, that facade ends." President Elena Vasquez leaned forward in her chair. "What are you proposing, Admiral?" "Full activation of the Shadow Fleet. Every shipyard, every hidden base, every weapon system we've kept in reserve. If these aliens think we're easy prey, It's time to show them what happens when humanity is threatened. The vote was unanimous. Across the solar system, signals went out to installations that didn't officially exist. In the asteroid belt, mining operations that had been hollowed out decades ago revealed their true purpose as massive shipyards. On Mars, research facilities opened underground levels that contained weapons laboratories. The moons of Jupiter, long used for terraforming experiments, activated their hidden manufacturing centers. Humanity had spent generations preparing for this day, building a military infrastructure capable of defending human space against any threat. The aliens who destroyed Kepler station had given them 43 reasons to unleash it all. The countdown to humanity's response had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The swarm meets the storm. 6 months after the destruction of Kepler station, the space around Earth looked like something from humanity's wildest science fiction dreams. Where once there had been peaceful research stations and cargo vessels, now floated the largest military fleet in human history. Admiral Rebecca Torres stood on the bridge of the TDS Retribution, a massive dreadnought that officially didn't exist until 3 weeks ago. Through the reinforced viewports, she could see rows upon rows of warships stretching beyond the horizon. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and support vessels, all bearing the same angular, aggressive design that marked them as products of the Shadow Fleet. Final count, Admiral, reported Fleet Coordinator Sarah Chen. 893,412 vessels ready for deployment. Nearly 900,000 ships. The number still amazed Torres, even though she had helped plan their construction. For generations, humanity had built these vessels in secret, using the cover of civilian infrastructure to hide the greatest military buildup in the species' history. Mining operations in the asteroid belt had concealed massive shipyards. Research stations had been weapons laboratories. Even the failed colonies that were officially abandoned had continued to function as military bases. The aliens who destroyed Kepler station had no idea what they had awakened. Status on the tracking operation, Torres asked. Dr. James Park, who had transferred from the Horizon to serve as the fleet's chief science officer, looked up from his console. We've successfully followed the quantum trail left by their dissolution weapon. The energy signature leads to a system designation, Zeta 7 Alpha, approximately 8 light-years from the former Kepler station. Long-range probes confirm multiple large structures in orbit around the fourth planet. Torres nodded. 3 months of careful investigation had revealed the truth about humanity's attackers. They called themselves the Zephyrian Swarm, a hive mind species that had been expanding through this region of space for over 1,000 years. They consumed organic worlds, strip-mined resources, and eliminated any species they deemed a threat to their expansion. Humanity had been marked for elimination. The probes detected how many ships in their system, Torres asked. Conservative estimate places their fleet at around 50,000 vessels, Admiral. But intelligence suggests these numbers may be misleading. The Zephyrians appear to grow their ships rather than build them, and they can produce new vessels much faster than we initially calculated. 50,000 ships against 900,000 sounded like overwhelming odds in humanity's favor, but Torres knew better than to underestimate an enemy. The Zephyrians had destroyed Kepler station without leaving a trace. Their technology was clearly advanced, and their biomechanical ships might have capabilities that human strategists couldn't predict. Captain Maya Chen approached the Admiral's position. She now commanded a battle group of 12,000 ships, all focused on reconnaissance and rapid response. Admiral, we've received final confirmation from all sector commanders. The fleet is ready. Torres activated the fleet-wide communication system. Across 900,000 ships, human crews stopped their preparations to listen to their commanding officer. Today we go to war, Torres began, her voice carrying to nearly 4 million military personnel. 6 months ago, the Zephyrian swarm destroyed Kepler station and murdered 43 innocent researchers. They believed we were weak. They believed we were defenseless. They believed humanity would simply accept their judgment and retreat into our own system. She paused, looking out at the vast fleet surrounding her flagship. They were wrong. The fleet began its jump sequence. Unlike the aliens' organic technology, human ships relied on conventional faster-than-light drives. The jump to the Zephyrian system would take 18 hours, giving Taurus time to review the battle plans one final time. The strategy was necessarily complex. Humanity's ships were individually less advanced than the Zephyrian vessels, but they had overwhelming numerical superiority and something the hive mind couldn't match: unpredictability. Human tactics relied on improvisation, individual initiative, and rapid adaptation to changing circumstances. The Zephyrians, despite their technological advantages, were limited by their collective consciousness. When the human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Zeta-7 Alpha system, they found the Zephyrians waiting for them. The alien ships were even more disturbing in person than they had appeared in the Kepler station recordings. They moved like living creatures, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing in synchronized waves that suggested constant communication across their entire fleet. The largest vessels were over 3 kilometers long, resembling massive space-dwelling insects with multiple hull segments and what appeared to be organic weapons. "They knew we were coming," observed Captain Chen from her position on the tactical display. "Of course they did," Torres replied. "They've been monitoring our communications since they first detected our expansion. But knowing we're coming and being prepared for what we brought are two different things." The Zephyrian fleet numbered exactly as intelligence had predicted: 53,000 vessels of various sizes. What the probes hadn't detected were the orbital installations around the fourth planet, massive biomechanical structures that were clearly designed for ship production and resource processing. "Admiral," Dr. Park called out urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups from those orbital installations. They're not just shipyards, they're weapons platforms." The first volley from the Zephyrian defenses lit up space with destructive energy. Beams of concentrated particles lanced out toward the human fleet, each capable of vaporizing a ship in seconds. But the humans had expected this. The first wave of their attack consisted entirely of unmanned drones, sophisticated AI-controlled vessels designed to absorb the aliens' initial response and gather tactical data. 2,000 drones died in the first 30 seconds of combat, but their sacrifice provided invaluable information about Zephyrian capabilities and targeting systems. "Their weapons are incredibly powerful but slow to recharge," reported Tactical Officer Linda Rodriguez. "Approximately 45-second cycles between shots, and they seem to target the largest energy signatures first." Torres smiled grimly. "Then we don't give them large targets. Order all ships to implement Pattern Echo 7. Pattern Echo 7 was a formation that human strategists had developed specifically for fighting technologically superior opponents. Instead of traditional battle lines, the human fleet dispersed into thousands of small attack groups, each consisting of between 50 and 200 ships. These groups would attack from multiple vectors simultaneously, forcing the Zephyrians to divide their fire and preventing them from focusing their superior firepower effectively. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. 900,000 human ships swarmed through the Zephyrian system like an angry cloud of metallic insects. The aliens' biomechanical vessels were individually superior, capable of destroying multiple human ships with each attack, but they couldn't target enough enemies simultaneously to stem the tide. Captain Chen led her battle group in a flanking maneuver around the system's second planet. "All ships prepare for close-range engagement. Remember, these creatures think collectively. Disrupt their communications, and you disrupt their coordination." Her 12,000 ships dove toward a cluster of medium-sized Zephyrian vessels, weapons blazing. The aliens returned fire with devastating effect. But for every human ship they destroyed, 10 more took its place. The mathematics were inexorable. On the main battlefield, Admiral Torres watched as human tactics began to tell. The Zephyrians fought with perfect coordination, but no flexibility. When human attack patterns shifted, the aliens took precious seconds to adapt their response, seconds that cost them dozens of ships. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," reported Communications Officer David Reeves. "It's coming from the largest Zephyrian vessel. Audio only, but the translation matrix is working. Put it through." The voice that emerged from the speakers was unlike anything human ears had ever heard, a harmony of thousands of individual voices speaking as one, creating an eerie chorus that seemed to vibrate through the ship's hull. "Humans, your response exceeds our calculations. We did not anticipate such abundance." Torres activated her reply channel. "You destroyed one of our colonies. Did you think we wouldn't respond? We eliminated a minor outpost of a primitive species. Your retaliation demonstrates concerning capabilities. We offer terms. The only terms I'm interested in are your unconditional surrender and reparations for the lives you took." There was a pause in the alien communication, filled with the sounds of battle raging across the system. When the Zephyrian voice returned, it carried a note of something that might have been respect. "You fight as the devourers of old fought. Individual units acting without central coordination, yet achieving collective purpose. We have not encountered such behavior in 700 cycles." "Then you haven't been paying attention to human history." The battle continued for 18 hours. Human ships pressed their attacks from every direction, wearing down the Zephyrian defenses through sheer persistence and numbers. The aliens' biomechanical vessels began to show signs of fatigue, their bioluminescent patterns dimming, their movements becoming sluggish. By the end of the engagement, the Zephyrian fleet had been reduced to fewer than 8,000 functional vessels. The orbital installations around their primary world lay in ruins, their biomechanical structures torn apart by concentrated human firepower. Human losses were significant, over 100,000 ships destroyed or disabled, but the victory was absolute. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching as the surviving Zephyrian ships retreated to the outer edges of their system. The hive mind that had once considered humanity easy prey now knew better. "Admiral," Captain Chen reported from the surface of the fourth planet, where human Marines had secured the primary Zephyrian command center. "We've accessed their central data systems. The intelligence we're gathering is extensive." "What have you found?" "They've been cataloging dozens of species across this region of space. Most of them are listed as eliminated or consumed." "Admiral, we're not their first victims. We're just the first ones to fight back successfully." Torres felt a cold satisfaction settle in her chest. "Then it's time to make sure we're the last ones they ever threaten." The Zephyrian Hive Queen, speaking through the few remaining ships in her fleet, made one final transmission. "Humans, you have proven your strength. We withdraw our claim to your territories. Your species will be avoided." "No," Torres replied firmly. "Your species will be contained. You've shown what you do to peaceful civilizations. That ends now." Over the following months, humanity established a permanent military presence in the former Zephyrian territory. The Shadow Fleet, no longer hidden, became the foundation of a new Terran defense force dedicated to protecting not just human space, but any species threatened by aggressive expansion. The aliens who had destroyed Kepler station believing humanity was weak had accomplished something they never intended. They had awakened humanity's true potential as a galactic power. The 43 lives lost at Kepler station had been avenged by the liberation of dozens of worlds and the protection of countless civilizations. In the end, the Zephyrians had been right about one thing. Humanity was indeed different from every other species they had encountered, but they had misunderstood what that difference meant. Humans didn't just fight for survival. They fought for justice, for the protection of others, and for the principle that no civilization should have to face extinction alone. The galaxy would remember the lesson of the Zephyrian War. Never underestimate humanity's response to injustice.